Welcome to the Madison College Cooking Demo Series, presented by Volrath. I am here with Chef Seth Vanderlyn, my buddy, who is the executive chef at Miller Park, a place that baseball fans all over the country, if they hadn't heard of, now have heard of. Previously incredibly famous for its cuisine, now famous for a couple of good games into October.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah. Hyperbole aside, it's great to be here with you.
Great to see you.
I've known you for a good part of your career.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while now.
We both didn't have beards. We were clean shaven in those days. Yeah. So how do you approach your craft? You have always worked at big places. When I first encountered you, you had just come from a casino in the Detroit area. You worked for Potawatomi, a big establishment, a casino, and then you moved on to, sort of a micro venue, Miller Park.
Yeah, just a little bit smaller.
Yeah. And one of the challenges that you have is making food impeccable and at a level that Bob Uecker is happy with every day, because I know you cook his dinner before he announces, or his lunch, right?
That's correct.
And then accommodating really on-point cuisine for 42,000 people that are committing an evening or an afternoon at a greater expense. Baseball, to go to a live game now, is not just, a nickel and some Cracker Jacks.
People have options now. We're competing against people that can see a high-def game on a 60-inch screen in their living room. So we have to provide the value above and beyond sitting in the stands and watching baseball.
And food has always been a seminal part of the fan experience.
Yes.
So how do you approach that without collapsing? Because that's what I would do. I would just freak out.
It's a challenge. We approach it from a technical side on the a technical ability on the food side. We have a very talented group of chefs beneath me that are phenomenal at their craft. Mm-hmm. So it's just leading and directing talented culinarians and cooks and chefs that most of them, a lot of them got their start in culinary schools, honing their skills. And really just guiding them into, hey, this is trendy, this is what's next in ballparks, and being able to produce a la carte quality food for the masses. And sometimes the masses might be 45,000 people.
Right.
On a Friday night.
Which is, that's where I want to be, quite frankly. So when I think of you at times, not you as friends, but you in your role, I think of Escoffier in the sense that he was the general for this huge brigade, army. Everyone working their station, doing their small bit, but integral bit, seminal bit in the process of assembly. And then these grand meals and these huge amounts of people being fed. And you have something similar, but you do it differently from Escoffier in the sense that there's so much more equipment that you can rely on, whereas that was more technique, right?
Absolutely.
Do it 100,000 times, now maybe it's do it 1,000 times, but this equipment can back you up. But you, and we'll get to it in a little bit, have infused this level of consciousness in the ingredients and the environment that ballparks around America are now starting to come around to, which is really exciting. But how do you get them to both rely on the equipment but have the nuances of heart?
It's constantly teaching. It's constantly hands-on with the staff, showing them we're always evaluating equipment in the off season and looking at what's making our lives easier, what's consistent, what's working for us. And there's a lot of things that may work in a smaller, James Beard Award-winning restaurant, if you will, and that's not going to work in a ballpark environment. But we are able to take modern techniques and whether it's water bath, slow, sous vide cooking methods, and incorporate those for the masses. We're able to utilize modern techniques to influence food for the masses, if you will.
Yeah.
So it's showing the students, and I'm a student. We're showing the students and my cooks, chefs, ways that we can utilize modern techniques to influence what we're doing. And that is from preparation to execution. We just had our sweets tasting for our 2019 sweets menu.
No pressure.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
So we just had our sweets tasting, and it's we're in December and we're months before the first pitch, and we're already looking at equipment, already looking at what we can do differently for our menus.
The thaw of April and that first chilly game isn't even on people's consciousness.
Well, last year it didn't thaw until about May or June. So.
Right, but we're here in the depths of winter and you're doing the tasting. And that's a perfect example of how high-minded and high consciousness and high technique and high flavor the cuisine has to be at an enormous venue, because in the suites, I don't know what it costs to have a suite at Miller Park, but I know that it's probably more than you and I make put together.
It's substantial. It's substantial. We have many different packages that I'm sure that they're always adjusting prices on. So.
Right. And frozen chicken fingers aren't going to cut it. So
not all the time. No.
Yeah, there's a high expectation. Well, give some examples of the different types of cuisine that you have stratified across Miller Park in the years you've been there, because that's a good segue to some of the environmental changes, that's what I would call them, that you've implemented.
So what I'm in charge of at Miller Park is we do the general concessions, which is a lot of the bulk of our business, you know, from the basic brats to the new taco concepts to the pizzas. The general concessions falls under my realm of responsibility, as does the all-inclusive areas, tailgating, pavilions, which again will be hot dogs, burgers, brats. And we'll do, you know, we'll feed 6,000 to 10,000 people in those areas every game. And then there's 60 plus suites, so it's kind of varies year to year when we remodel and renovate, but we'll have 65 to 70 suites that I'm in charge of, which each suite is essentially its own buffet, or might have roll-in action stations. So we have 60 to 70 different restaurants that seat 20 people. And that's just the suites.
How are you not just overwhelmed by this?
Well, we're not done. So then we have our clubs, club restaurants. We'll have our Legends Club will hold 300 people, and that has 7 different food stations.
I've been one of them, and that is an amazing experience in and of itself.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting our children, who we've had to look them in the eye and say, not every ball game is like this.
And I can't, and I have to refrain from giving them cotton candy.
Yes,
I still remember that. I still remember.
That's right. That's right.
So, and then we also have our Johnson Controls Club, which combines a la carte, you know, seating for up to 150 people, and a buffet for 200 and some people. And then we get into events. We do weddings. We do, you know, corporate outings. We'll do also, what you name it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And then also team meals. We're responsible for many of the team meals.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah, they do play baseball there, so it's not just cooking. They do play baseball.
Yeah. So when you came in, and I remember the idealism that you had. You gave my wife and I a tour. We saw behind the scenes. We saw hot dog buns stacked higher than our house, quite frankly, and we live in a 3-story townhome. And on and on and on. But you were so adamant about the local buy. I know when you interviewed with the brewers, you asked what their local buy was, and in essence they said,
what?
What's a local buy? And now you're a national template. So it's your story to tell. Talk about that.
Well, thank you. You know, that's something we're really proud of. We, you know, partnered with our, you know, produce purveyors and our broadline distributors, because when you're in a venue this large, you have to utilize a lot of those broadliners. And we said, what can we do to influence where you're getting your products from? We want to make the right purchasing decision to buy local when we can. So we started programs within our broadliners, especially when it comes to our produce, that when I buy asparagus, they are going to look to the state of Wisconsin first to buy this asparagus. If they can't source it from Wisconsin, they'll look to what equates to about a 5-state area.
Michigan,
in the
Indiana,
Midwest. Yes.
Sure.
And then if they can't find it then, national, and then worldwide. Because quite frankly, when you're looking for, you know, strawberries in April, I'm not going to get much out of Wisconsin. So it's a numbers game, but and it's always not the cheapest option, but it's the right decision.
And the management supports you in this.
They're very supportive. Awesome. They're very supportive in that, and we increased our local purchase by 700%.
Wow.
So our local purchase in the first year and a half was 700%.
From zero.
Well, yeah, I guess it's easier when it's zero.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's fantastic.
Yes. And it's constantly growing.
You just spoke at a conference not that many months ago where other stadiums are looking at this saying, we're in places in the country where delicious things are being grown. It's less of a carbon footprint.
Yes.
The opportunity for the fan experience is more authentic, quite frankly. if you're rooting for the Oakland A's or the whoever's, you want, you know, things that are from nearby.
And I just had a conference in Cincinnati, Ohio, Great American Ballpark last week where I was with multiple baseball stadium chefs and we were just bouncing ideas off one another. And this is one of the things that was brought up between us is sustainability efforts and the local buy and how we were able to work with our broadliners and our produce company to get these items locally.
Right. Well, one term that I loathe in the food world is where they talk about a dish being sexy. But what you're doing with your agricultural combustor is in fact sexy because it's incredibly good for the earth and it's the heart of sustainability and it's what needs to start happening in enormous venues like a ballpark. So can you elaborate a little bit there?
You're absolutely right. You know, that's one thing that we're just trying to do is, you know, it's been difficult for somebody to essentially get their foot in the door with, you know, a biodigester or something that might need to run year-round and do it in a seasonal environment. And that's we worked with a company to bring in a biodigester on a pilot program this year. Was hoping to get it off the ground before opening day. We ran into some snags. We had to get some permits from the Department of Natural Resources. Had to work with the sewer district on getting the proper approvals. Obviously, they want to know what's going into the sewer. And what it is the biodigester will take organic matter. In our cases, it might be leftover produce from team meals or lemons and limes that were used at the bar that are already cut.
Right.
And we'll have 10 games in a row, but then we'll have a space of 2 weeks where we won't have any games.
Sure.
So it's not like we can save these lemons and limes and use them again. So always the first thing we want to do is reduce production. We don't want to create waste. So we work with the culinary team to reduce as much waste as possible. And then any waste that we do have, we try to donate. We try to donate to local
food pantry or something like that.
Yes, food pantry to donate it first. If something is not suitable for donation, then it's a candidate, if you will, for biodigestion.
Yeah.
And these items are then put into this biodigester, which it's an auger with an enzyme that's very similar to a human stomach that breaks these items down, and it produces a gray water, very nutrient-dense water that goes into the sewer, and then that nutrient, it's gray water, goes to the wastewater treatment facility, and they can skim that off and use it for biofuel or fertilizer, but it prevents that organic matter from going and breaking down in a landfill in a garbage bag.
Because methane off-gassing, I guess, it contributes more to, I accept global warming, contributes more to the change in our atmosphere than actually all the cars that we drive. It's incredible. So when we put that into a landfill, the gases that come off of it, and every home of ours, we're producing something like 200 pounds a month. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So when you take that in terms of a stadium, what can possibly be saved and done for the earth?
The great news about this is we started a small pilot program with a biodigester that's about the size of a wheeling out to the road trash receptacle.
Yeah.
And it has the ability to divert up to 500 pounds a day. We diverted 29,000 pounds of organic waste from the landfill and produced energy, if you will.
18 tons plus.
And this unit, we started small because we didn't want to get something that no one's done this before.
Sure.
So we didn't know if it was going to work. So we wanted to start small. We probably are putting a very small percentage of our waste, of our actual post-consumer waste, into this biodigester.
Sure.
We plan on, we feel like we can get that number from 29,000 to 50,000 next year with just changing some of our best practices. But with a bigger unit and with more areas putting their organic waste in here, we will be able to get double, triple that number. We'll be able to get 150,000 pounds.
You changed my consciousness for throwing my peanut shells on the floor because I was there at the game this summer and I'm like, oh my God, Seth could be biodigesting this. Kids, pick them up, pick it up. We can't. We're gonna get a bag. We're gonna give it to Chef.
And that's one that we're constantly looking at different future plans. We would love to have vessels and items that can go into biodigester. I would love, and we aren't close,
right?
But it would, in a perfect world, all the vessels that are served in a ballpark could have the ability to go through a biodigester if they're potato based or an item that will break down in a biodigester, and that changes things because if you can
like the corn-based silverware and things like that.
If you can have a proof of concept on a single-use item going through a biodigester as opposed to the trash, and be able to have all of your garbage, because we can control what comes into the ballpark for the most part. If you have all of your vessels and garbage be of a potato base or an item that's going to break down the biodigester, you can have zero waste almost. And then you change schools, you change other areas that use single-use items, because you can take the same technology and put it in prisons, schools, not that those are related, but prisons and schools and areas that use those single-use trays or those vessels, and everything goes into a biodigester.
What I love about you, separate from just our friendship and your delicious cooking, which you've been generous to me and my family with, is that even from the earliest days you had this consciousness, you had this stewardship, that a chef is certainly someone who takes a raw, rough product and turns it into something that's delicious. That's alchemy. But there's an end game beyond that. Yes. When I first met you, you were taking Asian carp and making a great argument that this is a delicious fish, that yes, is invasive. We're going to have big problems in the Great Lakes soon, but let's eat them to extinction. And I remember having, basically what you prepare and going, I want more. I don't care what their story is. Yeah, let's.
Everything has barriers, and everything has barriers. There's always a barrier to success when it comes to something that hasn't been done before. In Asian carp, the chefs don't want to buy it because the bone structure is difficult to work with, and the head is about 40% of its actual weight. So we got around that by just smoking the entire fish. Yeah. Smoking the entire fish, pull it off the skeleton, and then make cakes out of the, smoked carp cakes out of the meat.
Well, and the cheeks that you served me, I mean, the cheeks of other fish are a delicacy, right? And we pay a great deal of money at a seafood-centric restaurant. The Asian carp cheeks, which I think you gave the fish a different name, which is
silverfin, I believe is what we're calling it.
Silverfin, which is the key. Yeah, the Panamanian toothfish is now sea bass, and suddenly it's almost gone from the globe because we're all eating it. But they were fantastic, and it wasn't just butter and salt. You got to start with a great flavor.
You have to.
Seth, so when most people think about stadium food, they think about hot dogs. Pretty simple. I mean, right?
Or brats.
Or brats, yeah. Well, in our case, yeah. But it's, the classic. And, you can grill it, you can fry it, you can boil it, you can grill the bun, you cannot. And then you're arguing about ketchup and mustard, but we're not.
Stadium sauce.
Stadium sauce, yeah. We're not reinventing the wheel. All right, you can have it your way. But the truth is, there's so many more technological advances that you are using every day. Things like induction, things like sous vide, things like different temping, or certainly on the prep side. So, maybe speak to sous vide. How does that play into, which is I know Vollrath rocks that sort of thing. They're a great Wisconsin company. How does that play into ballpark cuisine, that most people would just enjoy a meal at the ballpark, but never realize that this molecular gastronomy technique is in play, right?
Absolutely. In Vollrath, they make great, sous vide equipment that I've used, and one of the biggest barriers to producing for the masses has been how do we make that a la carte quality, steak or fish, and be able to produce it for the masses. So I love utilizing those modern techniques. We have a wheel in, we can wheel in a rack into the combi therm that can either moist heat or convection heat, combi cook.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is, and I'm able to get that precision. I'm able to wheel it in there and get that 130 degree, 140 degree, whatever I want, precision cooking for hundreds of pounds.
I see that type of technology in your kitchen, and I think, one, why are we not living on Mars, and where am I flying cars? I mean, this is we have the tech. Clearly, we have the technology.
We'll work on that.
Yeah. But you've really taken through these technologies, and you have this great base of terrific institutional knowledge in kitchen supply and manufacturing and technology here in Wisconsin, which is really kind of plays into your sustainability story, to this new level. I mean, since you took over, the banh mi sandwich that you're going to make with this demo, and all of the other things that turned up at a ballpark. That my favorite story was when you guys had a Deadhead Day, or Dead Day, and you sold out of vegetarian burritos or something?
Yes.
Because, well, a lot of deadheads are vegetarians. But more importantly,
we're not ready for that.
They were delicious. And you don't think I'm going to go get a perfectly on-point, delicious mushroom burrito or whatever it was at Miller Park. Nobody ever woke up that day and said that.
No,
Yet.
No, we were surprised when we ran out as well. So we're constantly, we're trying to evolve with the times. We're trying to push the plant forward movement as much as possible in a ballpark setting. Restaurants are having a hard time adapting to, non-proteins being in the center of the plate. So in a ballpark environment, it's exponentially, harder to do that. But we're attempting, we're trying to bring in plant-forward dishes like the roasted mushroom and black bean and corn taco that you had tried. And yes, when Grateful Dead came in, we completely sold out within the first inning, and I got yelled at.
That's what was the taco. Yeah.
But we're constantly pushing those trends and trying to be, industry leaders, if you will, at doing these things. We have a cold roasted vegetable platter on our sweets menu that was one of our surprise top sellers in our sweets. And all it is aggressively roasted cauliflower, fennel, broccoli that's just charred under a salamander and drizzled with a house garlic Parmesan sauce. It's approachable.
Sounds great.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
But it's still unexpected for a casual fan to enjoy just charred vegetables with a garlic sauce.
So when you have this great wealth of technology here in a company like Vollrath and this great Wisconsin kind of, they've been around for 140 years, made, for God's sake, they made the canteens for the U.S. Army,
Yes.
And then you've got your sustainability ethos coming at it. You're really kind of like the tail wags the dog. Do you sometimes look at this technology and think, okay, how do I work that into my sustainability story but feed a lot of people?
Always, all the time. You're constantly evaluating your business model and saying, how can our equipment support our path? That's the best way to say it. That's the best way to describe it, is how does our equipment support and enhance our path forward? It's never going to get in the way. We're always going to have new technology. We're always going to have, we're always going to have new items and the fun, new, shiny things. But we need to make sure it supports our path forward, and those are the items we look at.
Here's something that's always puzzled me. You may have to feed 45,000 people at the same time. Food goes from extraordinary to ordinary based on temperature in a very short window. How do you track that and keep your finger on the pulse, metaphorically?
It's very difficult. We are happy to say that we have some of the highest sanitation and food scores in Major League Baseball. We have all of our managers are ServSafe certified, and it's difficult. It's a never-ending temperature chase, if you will. We are a lot of temperatures I tracked old school way of probe into the food and recorded manually. We have some technology where our coolers are automatically temped, and those items or those temperatures are relayed to our computer system. And where if a cooler will go out of temp, we'll get an alert and we can go check that cooler. We are constantly, again, that's one of the tools that we're reevaluating all the time on what we can do to have technology assist with those, because food safety is of the utmost importance. So if there's technology out there, we're exploring it to see how we can make food as safe as can be.
So on the heels of that, what about this? We can order pet food through the cloud. We can change the temperature of our refrigerator if we want, right at home. Yes. We can drop the blinds if we can ask Alexa to, I don't know what to, But so do you have that kind of thing going at Miller Park where there's a certain amount of connectedness, but you're orchestrating it because it's really just one more level of all of your chefs that you're orchestrating to feed 45,000 people at a very high level?
At this time, we don't have a fully connected kitchen that you're alluding to. We don't have the ability to change all the temperatures in our coolers at the click of a mouse. If we did, that would make things a lot easier on my end.
Yeah.
But you're talking hundreds of coolers that would need to be
all linked up.
Yeah. So ideally, in a perfect world, yes, we would love to have something like that, and we will eventually. That will be the basic model. Will have those items in them when down the road. But we're always looking at technology like that.
What's cool is that in all the initiatives, it seems like management and they're doing this in the dark, meaning the fan experience. It translates through, but fans don't care that you're doing these subtle things. It's just how great is my food? What's the fan experience like? But the management is backing it up completely.
the Brewers front office and the Brewers organization has been fantastic. They put a lot of trust into me to deliver on the vision I bring them at times, or the vision that our department will bring them. And it's been very easy to work with them because they've been essentially saying, hey, yeah, just that sounds great. If you bring us a plan, how much it's going to cost, what it's going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
We're with you.
Well, they hired you on purpose, and we're glad that they did. And maybe next year we'll get a pennant. I mean, it was pretty good this year.
It was close. Game 7.
It was pretty good. Yeah. One last question. So there was a big changeover in your brat supplier, which I welcome. I think it was fantastic. And I remember you were whispering about that when you first took the job, but you couldn't say too much. I'm delighted with that changeover, but in the process, how many bratwursts have you had to sample?
And that's, well, you asked me this 3 years ago, and it was a lot. Last year, I had as little as I could because I'm trying to watch my weight. I do, Johnsonville makes a great product, a great Wisconsin company. We had there was a lot of discussion over that. There's a lot of movement for it. We're excited to have Johnsonville products in the ballpark. The feedback has been, positive on the change. And we work with Johnsonville. We work with
their
all
neighbors
of our,
with Volrath practically.
We work with Johnsonville. We work with all of our suppliers. I worked with the product development team. We're constantly trying to improve their products as well. And what can we do from a taste perspective? What can we do from a sustainability perspective?
Yeah.
What can we do to bring more of the fan engagement into the foods that they're eating? Because like I said, you can watch the game at home, but you come here, you have an enjoyable Wisconsin product, and it's made the right way.
Cooked on a Wisconsin product.
Cooked on a Wisconsin product.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that I think we take it for granted, but the fact that you can just make a phone call and someone can drive down and say, yeah, here's our vision to match yours, and we make it here.
Yes.
We're not putting it on an airplane. It's not coming on a boat. It's not coming on some supply chain from the other side of the country. It's 45 minutes away. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that thought process goes into a lot of our purchasing decisions.
Sure. Well, thanks, buddy. I look forward to eating the banh mi brat again with the demo.